Good morning. Hope everyone's having a great day so far. And if Tuck happens to be watching, I hope you're feeling better today, Tuck. And on that note, let's have a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time. I get to look at your word, and that you can help me to relay the information of your word accurately, and that you send the Holy Spirit to be with us and help us to understand exactly what you're trying to relay and trying to teach us in this passage. And we'll give you all the praise and glory. And we also want to think of Brother Tuck. He's recovering from his illness, and that he's feeling better. And we're so thankful for all our brothers and sisters as they, whatever they're happening today, that they will have a comfortable and fruitful day. In Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen. Okay, label today is The Harlot World Religion Destroyed. So basically, finishing up chapter 17, we see here in this diagram. So I'm having a little trouble with this particular diagram, only because it's talking about the harlot, basically Babylon and the harlot world religion, along with the Antichrist, and what their role is during the tribulation. When I was reading this particular painting, and it was this picture is supposed to be symbolic of the system that the harlot represents, or the woman that rides the beast. The most difficult part of Revelation to fully understand, but that more or less we're talking about here is a group of people that is being controlled. They're being controlled by the Antichrist, and that there's three aspects to it. You got Satan that is in control of everything, and that you have the harlot, or the false prophet, in control of the people, and then you have the Antichrist, who's also in control of the people, one from a religious standpoint and one from a political standpoint. And so this picture is more depicting the political standpoint, where it's going to represent his power over the entire world. And I can't really, except for some of the things I might point out, is that you'll notice there's 10 mountains in the background. The 10 mountains have 10 kings, and I found something interesting on that we'll talk about. And that in this particular drawing, there's three figures here in the middle, and they represent the Antichrist, the false prophet, and the woman. And the woman being is riding the beast, which is the thing you see there with the blue and red in the middle. And let's see what else we can find in this picture that makes some sense about this. It says the mother, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Babylon is an interesting term because I wrote it down here that Babylon's. Oh, I thought I wrote it down here. It might have been yesterday I was talking about. I remember talking about Babylon, what it meant. But that it basically meant in case you weren't listening yesterday, I highly recommend a great book that helps explain something about this called Dave. It's written by a man by the name of Dave Hunt, A Woman Rides the Beast. Really excellent book. I highly recommend it. It makes a lot of sense with some of the stuff that's happening in these chapters. Basically, Babylon is basically it's where all the pagan culture, gods and beliefs originated from, and so it's become synonymous with the pagan world, or anything that's not God. And so can almost look at Babylon as the opposite of God's kingdom. So that's what you see in this title up here, the mother of harlots, the abomination of the earth. So let's jump into verses. I'm having trouble trying to relate what this picture is. So let's jump into what I do know. And here is we'll start in verse 9, only because verse 9 mentions what the 7 heads are. Even though we did it yesterday. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So let me try to explain what I think this verse is basically saying. That there's 7 kings, 5 are fallen. So the 5 that are fallen are actually, you got to try to think about this from the standpoint of John, because John was writing this about 95 A.D. So at his particular point in time, he knew of 5 kingdoms, and the 5 kingdoms that had passed were Egypt, Assyria, which included Nivea, the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, and then Greece were the 5 that were passed. And in John's day, the one that was in power was Rome. And I picked up a couple of maps I thought it would indicate, so you get an idea how big the Roman Empire was. This is the map depicting everything in that light tan. This is about 100 A.D., so this is about the time John was writing this. And you can see it pretty much encompasses the entire Middle East, the Mediterranean, all the way around it. And if you get over near Israel, over here on the right, you can see Jerusalem. And pretty much Turkey, over a little bit over into, I'm not sure what that would be over in here, of course Greece, and all the area that Paul traveled through, and going all the way over to Spain and France and even Britain. So that was the Roman Empire, and of course Rome was in the middle there. So I'll give you an idea, and so the current one in John's day was Rome. So in this verse, there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. Those are the 5 I mentioned. One is, and that is the one that's current in John's day, which is Rome, and the other is not yet come. And that's an indication, because since then there has not been one dominating power that controlled the world. So the one that's coming is represented by the Antichrist and his world religion. His world power that starting to see more and more. You keep hearing these terms like one world power and the Great Reset, and basically turning the world into one governmental entity. So you can see we're heading in that direction now, where another superpower, another one world leader will come into play. And that's basically what happens after the rapture. And not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So it means he's not going to be in power very long. And we know that, from Revelation here, that's going to be 7 years, according to Daniel 9 and also Revelation that we're studying. And some other interesting things about it. I notice it mentions kings and kingdoms are synonymous. So in other words, that whether you're saying kings or you're saying kingdoms, they're one and the same. Some examples of that in the Bible would be like Babylon, and you think of Nebuchadnezzar. You think of the Medo-Persians that took over of Babylon. You think of Cyrus. And then, of course, Greece was Alexander the Great. So those are the ones that were pretty typical in John's time. Now, Rome was in power at the time, and there was no real one world leader at that point. That the Caesars kept coming and going, and there was different ones down through the whole Roman Empire. The interesting thing about the Roman Empire, they never felt it ever collapsed completely. It kind of just kind of broke apart. If you remember from Daniel's dream, that the legs, the feet. I think I actually go through that. We're going to read that here in a few minutes. So we see this depicted too in Revelation 13, 5 through 8. So we'll just read through those. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things, that would be the Antichrist, and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. So his main power is going to be the last 3.5 years. That's what 42 months comes out to be. Mostly, so based on that verse, he's going to be revealed sometime in the beginning of the tribulation when he he fosters a covenant, confirms a covenant with Israel to allow them to rebuild their temple, and there'll be peace, and that'll be basically his. He won't necessarily be in charge yet. He's going to be more like a facilitator, is what I gather. So his rise to power will be happening mostly during that period of time, right after the rapture, up until the point in time when he signs that covenant, and that starts the clock for the 7 years. It's still describing the Antichrist here. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Now, this particular verse is talking about after the 3.5 year mark. In the beginning, he's going to sound like that, and that's why the false prophet is going to be along with him and be able to facilitate a one-world religion, too. So in the beginning, he's not going to be acting that way. He's going to be like the big peacemaker. He's going to be... but he's going to turn on everybody at the 3.5 year mark. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And again, this is representing when we get to the midpoint. So in the beginning, he's not going to seem like a bad guy. He's going to be trying to get people to follow him. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So at some point, he's going to end up being able to convince everybody to worship him. And this is when the harlot, the one world religion, will actually, he'll actually destroy them too. And so that at some point, he's going to use them in the beginning to gain control of the whole world. But at some point, he's going to want to be worshipped. And so to stay in lockstep, the false prophet is going to actually promote him as God, because in other words, the Antichrist. So that one world religion is actually going to try to focus everybody on him as being the one true God. So over to 17:11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seven goeth into perdition. And I found this verse kind of interesting. Is it basically what it's trying to say here is that this particular beast, the Antichrist, is like a combination of all seven of those kingdoms, all rolled into one. So it's not like an additional one. It's like the eighth one kind of represents all seven. That kind of makes it. That's basically what this. And it's going to go into perdition. It means that he's going to be removed by force, not just fall out of power. So in other words, it's going to come down to him being physically removed by Jesus himself from power. To kind of support this, we got Revelation 13:3. And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. This is going to help confirm him, convince people that aren't Christians at that point that He's the man. He's the one that they're all looking for. That's going to save the day. Also, in Revelation 17:8, will be it's where he's going to be head into be eliminated. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. So he's going to die and come back to life, and so it's going to make it look like he's Jesus Christ to those that don't really know. And so that it's really important that you, if you happen to be seeing this during that time frame, you realize that this is not the real Jesus Christ, and that you're going to find out at the 3.5 year mark that he's all of a sudden going to be going to the temple and decimate it, which is something Jesus would never do. Over Revelation 17:12, and here we got and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. I found this kind of interesting that one commentator kind of commented, and I can see their point, that whenever they're talking about the adversaries of Israel, it's always in tens. I found some interesting verses to support this. So 10 kings might just be a representation of an adversary of Israel. Not necessarily that the exact number is 10, and it could be the exact number being 10. It could also be symbolic of the adversaries to Israel. But some past experiences that Israel has had with adversaries. Way back in Genesis 15, we find 15:18. We see one. Just realize that. And that same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river of the Euphrates. And here you're going to see the listing of the kings that it's going to be eliminated from the land of Israel. You got the Canaanites and the Kezites and the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rams and the Amorites and the Canaanites, the Jebusites. Then another one in the past is over in Psalm 83. Song of Psalm of Asaph. Keep not thy silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. Now, this particular prophecy, some believe, has happened already, or maybe soon. I try to lean more in the past, but I can see it could be a future prophecy. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and that they hate thee have lifted up thy head. They have taken crafty counsel against the people and consulted against the hidden ones. Some people believe that term, the hidden ones, has to do with Christians. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in resemblance. But they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Also, there's 10 nations that are going against Israel. And it's interesting that it's 10. It's not 11, it's not 9. Okay, the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagrinenes is 3. And the Jabal and Ammon and Amalek and the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them that have helped the children of Lot. I miscounted somewhere there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh yeah, okay, there's 10 there. Then the Bible also talks about some future ones. This is where I get into the ones in Daniel where it talks about the 10 toes. And Daniel, it mentions, starting in chapter 2, verse 41, whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as they sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Oh, I skip a verse. No, basically there's 10. Then also in Daniel 7:24, it also mentions another 10. And the 10 horns of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. So this again talking about the Antichrist. He's the little horn. Also in Revelation 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. But there's the 10 horns again. They mention 10 kingdoms. In Revelation 18:10, standing afar off for the fear of torment, saying, Alas, alas, the great city Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Oh, this is I put this one in there to indicate the 1 hour part. As you notice that, so those are the 10 kings, and I also wanted to point out in this verse, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. And I found it interesting to look up other places that 1 hour is mentioned, and one that seemed appropriate was Revelation 18:10. Standing afar off from the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour is the judgment come. So I tried to see if there was a correlation between 1 hours, and there's quite a few of them in the Bible, and it's not symbolic of a longer period of time. It's really an hour. So it's at least everywhere I could find in the Bible. Okay, Revelation 17:13. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. And basically they're going to be in agreement with each other. That's what they mean by having one mind. They're going to be in full agreement. And I have a feeling that this is going to be a mind control game. Remember that Satan has the power of deception, and that he's going to basically be able to convince these world leaders to come together against God and against anyone who is not following his program, i.e. tribulation saints and Israel. So a couple of places I saw this was over in Isaiah 10:5-7. Oh, wait, I forgot to put the verse in. Nope. And Philippians 2:2, being in agreement. I didn't put it in my thing here. Let me get it real quick. Fulfill ye my joy. Fulfill yet ye my joy, that ye may be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. So it's kind of a place to confirm what when the term one mind means. Being of one accord, being like-minded, in other words. And they also gave their power and strength unto the beast. So talking about giving over power, we're going to see this in verse 17 also, but also in Isaiah 10, verse 5 through 7. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in thy hand is my indignation. Make note of that Assyrian too, because that may play a part in where the Antichrist comes from. I will send him against a hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge, to take the spoil and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. Of course, Isaiah here is foretelling the future. Howbeit he meaneth not so, neither does his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. So he's going to try to control all the nations. Yeah, I thought I'd just point that. The Assyrian thing is kind of interesting. Some believe that the Antichrist may come out of something that some people don't realize. That this map ain't the best one. I think I had another map that kind of showed it a little bit better. I guess that map's just as good as any. But basically, Assyria is... the Assyrian Empire was over in this general area. When Rome took it over, they won it back, and they had control over it. And it was in the eastern part. Most people think of Rome and the Roman Empire as being mostly around Rome and west of Rome, and just basically around the Mediterranean. But it actually went further east towards India. And that would be where the Assyrian Empire was originally, where Nivea was, and that kind of thing. But this, if you're looking at red areas, that red area that kind of goes towards over the top of the Parthian Empire, that would be the Assyrian Empire. So it could be part of the revived Roman Empire, Assyria, the Assyrian area. It's kind of a neat map too. These are 1st century AD. You can see the different empires that were. Now the Roman Empire was the biggest, but these are some of the other ones that were around then too. The Han Empire of China and the famous Silk Route. These red lines are the different routes, trade routes, and you can see that there's a couple that go through the Middle Eastern area, which made Israel desirable. But also most of where Paul was doing a lot of his preaching up to Antioch and those areas, you can see in the red. Those were major trade routes to the other parts of the known world at that time. So back to where we are. So Isaiah 10:7, and let's see, where am I? Okay, next for Revelation 17:14. They shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and fruitful. Love this verse, because this is the Lord. This is where the destruction starts to happen, and within this context of this chapter, where the Lord is going to come. This is going to happen, and basically in chapter 19. But it's this chapter 17 is kind of a little bit of a review of who Mystery Babylon is and who the harlot is. So this kind of we're included in this list, and they shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and fruitful. So let's look at a few over in Revelation 2:10. Remember, this is the church that overcomes. Fear none of those things which thou shouldst suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful until death, and I will give thee a crown of life. That's Jesus talking. Remember in Revelation 2 and 3 of the 7 churches. So this is what being reflected upon here, that that the Antichrist is going to make war against the Lamb being representing Jesus Christ, but the Lamb's going to overcome, and we know that. So just like I'm trying to say to anyone that's still around at this time frame, hang in there, because even if you're killed, that life after Jesus takes gets rid of all the Antichrist and his followers, things are going to be awesome. So just hang in there. We're getting really close to the end now. If you're reading this and it's happening right now. Okay, and a couple of good verses about King of Kings and Lord of Lords over in Psalms 136. Oh, give thanks unto the God of gods, for his mercy endureth forever. Oh, give thanks to the Lord of lords, for his mercy endureth forever. These are promises by God, and God has not broken a single promise ever. To him who alone doeth great wonders, for his mercy endureth forever. To him that by wisdom made the heavens, for his mercy endureth forever. To him that stretched out the earth above the waters, for his mercy endureth forever. So another place talking about King of Kings and Lord of Lords over in Daniel 2:47. The king answered unto Daniel and said, Of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing that thou couldst reveal this secret. That's Nebuchadnezzar recognizing to Daniel that he recognizes the God, the one true God. Of course, he's going to break that when he gets to his own statue and then having people worship it. So he's going to forget what he said here, but he does end up turning back to realization during the fiery furnace with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that the God of gods is exactly who he said he was originally. And those who are called over in Micah 5:7 through 9. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people, as the dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass, that tareth not for man, nor weigheth for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of the many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep. Who, if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. Okay, so that was talking about us, and it will be basically those who are called. Those who are called, and that God is going to end up protecting us, and it. So on to verse 15. I'm going to run a little over today. I'm already past 30 minutes, I know, and I still got half a dozen verses, so I'll try to get through them quickly. Don't want to finish this chapter. Revelation 17:15. And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest, which the horse sitteth, are people and multitudes and nations and tongues. And basically just basically confirming what some of these things I already mentioned from other verses. So real quick, notice here it says that the waters represent people and multitudes and nations and tongues. So it's pretty much everybody. It's not specific to one particular people group. We see a couple other places over in 17:1 said the same thing. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Also in Psalms 18:4 Sorrows of death and compassion compressed me, and the floods of the ungodly men made me. You can see here that the psalmist is correlating men with floods. So also in Isaiah 8:7 and 8. Now therefore, behold, the Lord bringeth up upon them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria, in all his glory, and he shall come up over all his channels, and go over all his banks. And he shall pass through Judea, he shall overflow and go over, he shall reach even to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of the land, O Emmanuel. So get some verses confirming that waters are always represent people groups. Okay, Revelation 17:16. The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So basically, she's going to be ultimately destroyed. When we say she, we're again talking about this one world religion. The woman being in this case, as we talked about yesterday, not being representative of Israel. This is the evil part of typically whenever a woman, and I think I mentioned this once before, is used in the Bible. It's usually about a religious group. And, it's how we're called the bride of Christ. And that, representative as in the female gender. And you notice when we were talking about Revelation 12 that we talked a lot about Israel being the woman who brought forth the Messiah. And so that this particular woman that we see talked about here, because they related to the whore or the harlot, that would be the religious group of that time period that's in control of. So that trying to make sure we understand that what they mean by the woman or anything female oriented. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. A bit go along with this in Jeremiah 50:41-42. Behold, a people shall come forth from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel and will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, every one put in array like a man to battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. Again, that daughter of Babylon is representing pagan. Remember, we said that pagan had to do with a world system. Over in Daniel 5, talks about eating flesh. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. Again, representing that ultimately good is going to take over evil. And remember, the depiction of Jesus having the thrashing floor and the harvest, and that then after that is going to be the war of Armageddon, where he's going to basically eliminate anyone who is not going to follow the true and living God. I see this over in Leviticus 21:9. The daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profaneth her father, she shall be burned with fire. So way back in Leviticus, it was God made it ordained you profane the teachings, that ultimately you will be burned with fire. Sorry against that one. I put it in my notes for some reason. Let me see why I put James 4:4 in there. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of God. Okay, yep. This is more modern. Jesus' own brother, James, speaking here, so that confirming basically what this verse in Revelation is stating. Okay, Revelation 17:17. Almost done. But God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdoms unto the beast, unto the words of God shall be fulfilled. Now, I don't have much to say about this, except that another combining verse with this is Revelation 18:8 and 20. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judged her. You know, it's all the references to the female gender, again, being representative of a people group, whether good or bad. It's just basically, it has to do with a religious people group. Obviously some good, some bad. So sorry, ladies, that it seems like God always kind of puts, but look at the good side, that we're all considered the bride of Christ. So whether you're male or female, we're all kind of gender specific there to be the bride of Christ, symbolically. Then also in Revelation 18:20, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. So Revelation 17:18, and the woman which thou sawest is the great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And again, that's speculation, because of some of these verses. It kind of still leans towards Rome. And we kind of showed you that picture yesterday about the map. I'll show it again real quick. We talked about the 7 hills. This is Rome. This is the area near Rome, and that there are 7 hills, and they're named in this particular picture. Of course, this is all residential area now. You know, if you saw it for real, it's hard to see the hills. So I thought I'd show that picture again. That's the Vatican again. That's all I got for right this minute. We'll probably talk more about this too as we get into chapter 18, because there we talk about the fall of Babylon, and we'll try to do a little bit more comparison between the real Babylon and where Babylon was, and where what they symbolically call Babylon. Where Babylon can be both a physical place, which is located in Iraq on the Euphrates River, and I did show you an old picture of that a while back. This is what it kind of looked like back in its heyday. I'll bring up some more pictures of what it looks like now. There's not much to it now compared to then, but we'll do more of that when we get into the next chapter, starting Monday. And so I'm kind of thinking, I'm kind of leaning towards a little bit, it could be both, because Babylon represents not only a world religious organization in Revelation, it also represents, as we just talked about, the woman religious order, whereas there's also a political aspect to it too. So I can see that the false prophet, being the religion that I commented about yesterday, that currently resides in Rome, being represented and trust me, if there's any of my Catholic friends out there, I'm not saying you in particular, but I do have some issues with the particular followings of the Pope and the religious hierarchy, and also the political side of the Antichrist. So I can see the Antichrist having maybe his castle and his area where he's going to be in the Middle East, closer to Jerusalem, because ultimately he's going to want to be in the temple in Jerusalem. So Babylon, the real Babylon, is a little bit closer to there, being right over there, and maybe the false prophet will be in charge, but he'll be residing in Rome. So maybe we'll kind of try to toy around with that idea next week. So that's all I have, and I will talk to Mr. End with a prayer. Oh, dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time to look into your word and for all that we can learn and speculate. And Lord, I really do enjoy trying to figure out exactly what some of this stuff means and try to help out those to see that may come after us or be in the tribulation, that I can help them to understand what they're going through and to be prepared for whatever happens. And give you all the praise and thanks. In Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen. So I will talk to you again Monday, and I'll see the teens tonight at Tug, and we'll be going over the season 1, episode 5, which is the marriage at Cana. And so that'll be fun, and looking forward to that. And I will see all you here online. For any teenagers, if you want to be at the church tomorrow night, that'd be a great time. We'll talk about that. That won't be live streamed. I can't live stream. That's proprietary information, so I can't put that up on the internet. So if you want to see it and join in the discussion, you'll have to come to the church. And I will talk to everyone else Monday.